It's that time of year that we're getting our garden ready for the season. And if you haven't put compost, a lot of times we do our bed prep in the fall so that we allow that compost to break down. So make sure when you're adding anything that you've added aged material so that it's had time to kind of break down a little bit. You can see here what I'm adding is an old straw bale, and this is for mulch on our vegetables. We've got some onion plants here that I'm just kind of tucking in some straw around it. Now, this is important because it suppresses any weed growth, but it also helps kind of insulate that soil moisture and prevent evaporation, so we can be a little more water conscious in our vegetable garden. Now, we've talked about using hardwood mulches and things like that in other areas of the landscape, and really in the vegetable garden, you want to use something that's going to break down a lot faster. So that's why cottonseed hulls or straw often works well. Now, you might hear people talk about hay mulch. We prefer to use straw mulch because it has a little less seed material in there, so you won't have as many weeds growing. Now, a lot of times when we're adding things into our vegetable garden, there can be concern about residual material that might be in the products that we're using. And so today I want to talk to Dr. Daniel Adamson with Plant and Soil Science Department, who's here to talk to us about these basically agriculture products at one point and how maybe they were treated in order to then use in our garden. So let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Casey.
Yeah.
So like you said, what do you know about your mulching friend here? What's his life history?
Right, because he was out in the field
concerns?
at one point, right?
Exactly. So like you, I have the opportunity to speak to our master gardeners through the state. And a subject that has come up a few times is residual herbicides that can actually persist in hay, straw, and get into our composts or manure or things like that that could cause us some problems in our garden. So it's a low risk problem, but it does happen sometimes, so it's worth being aware of.
And the problem being that it can prevent our vegetables from growing, right?
Exactly.
So we think we're doing something good for our vegetable garden, but we could be doing something bad.
Exactly, and it all boils down to just what is the history of the products we're using in our garden.
Okay, and now there's a specific couple of chemicals, right, that we want to be aware of that have a residual effect. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize a lot of herbicides have long-lasting effect in the soil, and that can be a really good thing for long-lasting control of weeds, especially hard-to-control weeds like stubborn perennials. And
which is why farmers use it, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you're in a rangeland situation or a pasture situation where these products are typically used, it's a really beneficial thing. But if you take those herbicides out of that setting and get them into the garden, it could cause problems.
Okay.
The ones that are most persistent are actually in the 2,4-D family, so they kill plants the same way that 2,4-D does.
Okay, so broadleaf weed killers.
They're broadleaf weed killers. They hang out in the soil for quite a long time. We're talking months to years. One of particular concern is called aminopyrrolid. It's the active ingredient in Milestone or Grazon Next HL.
Okay.
The label really clearly states, don't use this product anywhere that you think some of that material could become compost or mulch.
Okay.
If used properly, this isn't a problem.
Right.
But through that communication chain, sometimes we lose track of where this product has been sprayed, and somebody might unknowingly bring some hay in to mulch their garden, or they use some compost from some manure that an animal ate that hay, and therefore it's tainted with this herbicide that could actually cause some problems for your sensitive broadleaf crops in your garden.
So let's follow that chain. So a farmer is just using it to control some weeds in his hayfield to feed his livestock, right? And so he's done this using a herbicide that maybe has a little bit more residual effect so that he doesn't have to spray as often, right? So it's a beneficial situation there. The problem is when we remove that and we've taken it then to the garden, right?
Yes,
so, and it has a residual effect through the animal also?
Yep, so the chemical will be unchanged through the animal's digestive system. It doesn't harm the animal at all. So again, there's these steps in the chain that can just make it a little hard to keep track of where it came from. So
comes out in the manure.
Exactly. So just be aware of where you're getting your compost, manure, or mulches from. If you could have a good friend who's a farmer, just ask them, did you spray Milestone recently, Grazon recently, Tordon recently, or some other active ingredients like picloram that kind of have the same behavior in the soil? Ask them if they bought hay and if they know the history of that hay and what their animals have been eating.
And primarily it's in hay, not straw.
Correct.
Okay.
There are some residual herbicides in wheat systems, but the way they behave and they move through the plant is much less persistent than the range and pasture herbicides.
Okay. And now I know one of the big questions is like, okay, so maybe I'm concerned or I don't know about my product's previous, life. How long do I have to wait? Give me a time.
Exactly. Yep. Well, that all depends on the biology of the system. So these herbicides don't hang around forever. They will naturally degrade, and a healthy soil microbial community will do most of the work.
Okay.
So if you have good organic matter soils with healthy microbial populations, warm soils, moist soils, eventually they will leave. But these herbicides naturally are pretty persistent, so we could be talking months to years.
Okay.
So if you do have a problem, what you're gonna see is those 2,4-D-like symptoms. It's called epinasty, that's the fancy science word. It means you'll see curled up tips of the growing points, or cupped leaves, or potentially just poor germination. It's hard to confirm that, so talk to your extension specialist and see if you think that's a problem. If you do have the problem, you might want to consider bringing in some clean material to help dilute that or get rid of the problem material.
And you would see that effect pretty immediately, right?
Yes.
After putting it in that compost or putting in the mulch or something like that. Because there also is sometimes 2,4-D drift that we see that, right? And so that might happen later on.
Yep. So use your detective hat. Think about what is the most logical reason why I'm seeing this problem.
Okay.
If you've ruled out everything else, if you've ruled out, maybe this compost is too salty, maybe the pH is wrong, send your samples to Swaffle.
Do a soil test
do a soil
first,
test.
right? Yeah.
If you've ruled out, I haven't sprayed in a while, my neighbors haven't sprayed, this problem keeps happening, then maybe you can consider this. Remember, it's a low risk problem, but it does occur.
Okay, and will we, because it's a 2,4-D broadleaf, it might be that we see grasses, weeds growing, but maybe no broadleaf weeds growing,
So
right?
the grassy plants shouldn't be injured, but your really sensitive broadleafs like tomatoes, potatoes, those are some things where you might start to see the problems show up first.
All right, so again, we have something we want to use. Can we talk about trialing it maybe?
Yeah, exactly. So when in doubt, ask those questions, use somebody you trust, but to be as safe as possible, early spring, so earlier than we are now, take some of your new material, bring it in the greenhouse or the house and plant your seeds of the plants that you're concerned about in it, and just make sure there's no problems. If they grow without any symptoms, then you're good to go.
Okay, excellent. And of course, aging your material off-site before you put it in the garden is always a good benefit too.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for this advice and something to be looking forward to.
Exactly. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.